Oops. Hi everyone, welcome in. Didn't quite realise the intro had finished there. Anyway, yeah, back in Blender today, and I'm working on this project I've been doing before live a couple of times. Just doing some final edits really. I mean, this is actually the exported model, final model as it were, that I brought in here to make some adjustments to materials and stuff like that. The first thing I've done is modified or changed the bumper so that it doesn't have a join in the middle. It actually is seamless, as it were. But I think next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to modify a couple of these materials on the front here. Unhide that. Yeah, gonna change this. Oops. And change it to black. See how it looks. Ideally this whole thing plus the headlight surrounds. I think I'm actually going to leave that red and instead going to try modifying these headlights surrounds. See if they look any better in the plastic / black colour. I think they kinda do. So we'll go with that for now. We can always change it back. Same thing could potentially apply at the back. Except we don't really have a proper surround, so we won't worry about that for a second. I suppose the next thing I was thinking was we ought to just modify these additional objects I put in a bit to represent what's it called? Like divisions, yeah, kind of divisions, but basically points with it's kind of a split in the body, the panels. I was just gonna try this for a bit of a laugh, see if it looks any different. Alright, so that sort of flattens out those edges. Interesting. Okay, yeah, so I think all we gotta do is, actually we'll start with down here. We'll delete those. I'm going to delete, whoops, try and select them this side. Delete them as well. And yeah, I'm just going to try a couple of things to see if I can make the equivalent thing but with the existing sort of geometry, as it were. Just trying some stuff I've seen done in videos just to see what happens, I guess. Well, for me to do that would probably take about 300 years, but I suppose if you kind of picked it up reasonably quickly. Probably a month of just solid doing it a few hours a day, practicing, would get you to the point where you could do that. I suppose it just depends how complex you want the video to be, is what it comes down to. But what I'm going to do is select that and hide that temporarily. So again, hopefully better idea of what I'm working with. Oh yeah, you can use a 1660. I mean, Blender is not that resource intensive in my opinion, so yeah, 1660 will do the job. And you consider that if you had an older hardware, you can use all the old Blender versions are still out there for you to use. You use an older version of Blender, which will only utilize that level of hardware, not some of the newer stuff out there. I would say Blender in my opinion, because that's kind of just what it does, versus Unreal has so much more stuff in it that it may not do it as well. So yeah, I would say the Blender. That's no problem. I don't mind giving my thoughts on these subjects. And the easiest thing to say honestly would be try it and sort of see what happens. Because sort of what I think is easier, you might say no, that's much harder. So you're best to really try them out and see what you think. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm going for. So if I could repeat that over 3 times, that would be nice. I can move this edge over, that's fine. It's just sort of working out the distance, I would say, that could be a little bit tricky, but there is a way. to do that. Which is, just have to think for a second. Oh, enabling edge length, and then the scale of this is, because it's come from Unreal, it's way off, so should remember to fix that. That basically means if the scale's off, your figures for calculating stuff are going to be way off. So that's better. 0.36 to admittedly, if I just did a quick calculation and worked that out, that would probably be the easiest thing. Just trying to make sure you get the right edge selected, sometimes a little bit awkward. Bottom edge, that's what we want. If you're wondering what the blue is, that's just where I used the shade auto smooth on this, which only smooths angles that are less than 30 degrees, so it marks in blue where it's not gonna keep the edges sharp, but I may change that just for a bit of fun at some point. The second one is very nearly already right, so we'll delete that edge for now. Kind of do the same thing we did before with the in setting. So we'll do a very small one to start off with, and then a slightly bigger one. And then we'll do a plus, deselect those edges, delete the outer faces, and then select the inner faces. Now whether my inset before was probably bigger, so we'll try that again. I'll just do one big inset perhaps. Can't measure that edge for some reason, so I have to guess a bit, I think. Yeah, it kind of worked. That's what we relatively want. So I suppose the question is now, the next size, probably have to adjust this line over here a bit. and this line as well. Shift it to duplicate that, and then kind of get these two lines in line with this one. And there's always probably a better way of doing these things, but this is sort of what I'm comfortable with, as it were, so I just do this. We'll move this ever slightly closer to this one, and do the same thing with the inset. Cool, so I think we will unhide everything, and we'll select this guy and we'll delete that for now, because kind of the plan is, well, I was going to say add a whole line in here, but there is an issue a little bit with some geometry over here with the straightness, so we'll probably just edit this because it can be thinned out a bit, and it'll look a bit better. I'll say I'll bring it in a bit this way. The only issue is over here I need to bring it out a bit more, but I can add in like a cut on here and then move that cut here, and then let me go into this mode and see if we can well, in all these vertices, see if we can work out where the edge is. But doing it this way, I can probably deselect this end, deselect this end, and then just say bring this out a bit. I guess there's some other stuff still selected, so we'll do, I was going to say do that, but shift deselect or something like that. Yeah, it's a bit awkward because I think there's a face in there which needs to be deleted, but trying to select that face in this mode is an interesting exercise, shall we say. I mean, what may be easier actually is start fighting with this and select this whole thing and bring the whole thing out, and then once we've got anything additional deleted, we'll then get it moved back into place. Suppose we do need to create face at the bottom here, but potentially what we'll do first is halve it and then recreate a face that way. I'll temporarily hide the body because it's a bit annoying at the moment while I'm trying to do this. It might be easier to start with a new box, but yeah, I don't know. It's a funny one. Essentially, we're going to create one whole face, I think, and then add in a couple of points where we need to. But at the moment, I'm still finding it tricky to work out what's actually happened to this. Okay. So if I add in cut here and then yeah, it's going to be easier to start with a whole new box, I think. What I'm actually going to do, I must remember to correct the scale after I do this, is going to make this about, I suppose I need to correct the origin point first so this will work, but half that and half that, and I think that's a better size. Apply that scale, and then just needs to come down to about there. And then we'll bring it over. and then we'll start the process of splitting this up and getting it in. So I'm going to move that about that much, and then I'm going to unhide the body and see. I'm just pressing H/Alt H to hide/unhide the objects. So we need another cut. Oops. In here somewhere. Let's try that. That helped a bit, so we probably need one more cut in here somewhere. That's okay, we already got a cut here that we can use to move this out. Come out of X-ray view and we'll do Alt H. Yeah, that's not too bad. I don't think so. I could potentially copy that up if it was straightened out a bit. Of course, I'll have to delete this this one first. I suspect by the time this is moved out, because it's a straighter shape up here, we can probably just go back into X-ray temporarily, and we can enable snapping to the vertex and move this and try and snap it to about there-ish. Same with this one. And same with this one. And it's relatively straight. And I could mirror this to the other side, so I don't have to do so much. Even though they go further, all I have to do is expand them a bit. But what I think about it, we'll delete this guy here. Turn off X-ray again because it's getting a bit much. And delete these. And we'll mirror. We'll join these up and we'll mirror them to the other side. Which might not be too bad. We just need to make sure we select the old mirror object. This guy, and yeah, we just need to apply this and then expand them the ends, but that's okay. I think what we could do here, we could do P separate by loose parts, so these are all separate now. This one, as I say, shouldn't be too bad to straighten out, but might need to move it to the front first to do that. That's not too bad. Now, just wondering about doing something else for a minute. If I go into here and I do the clear sharp edges just temporarily. See now some stuff's a bit versus before, because some of these are bang-ons and stuff, but I think I have a fix for all that, so we'll clear those sharp edges, and like here Oops. Go back into face select. Turn off X-ray if it's not already off. These two can be insetted a little bit. And they look a little better than they did. Maybe the insetting again. Yeah, sometimes insetting can be a way to get them to look a bit better, because essentially the issue here is these are a face with multiple points, so it doesn't always shade so well. But yeah, it does look definitely better when do a couple of small insets, maybe one more. Yeah, and similar deal maybe on this windscreen if we do, and that actually looks worse in that case. So yeah, it doesn't always work. But even here, where it's quads, there are points that the shading just doesn't look very good. For one reason or another. But I would have said that this shape here is quad. So it perhaps needs some of that. I might select these and do P to select them. I probably should have selected the windows in that, so my bad. And for some reason the link faces is being a bit annoying at the moment, but there we go. And I'll move it out a bit and see what we can do with this. Now, one thing someone did say about was adding in something like this can help, but it's effectively the shade auto smooth that's the problem. I almost need effectively a way to turn off automatic smoothing on this, because that's what's causing the quite bad things. But to be fair, I just inset the edges ever so slightly. No, it doesn't really help with that problem, so let me think about this. Okay, so that's a little better in a way. Probably need to adjust some of these edges, I think, because they're a bit ski-whiff by the look of it. This could take a bit of time, but assuming you've all got time, you know, to watch this. But oh, we got a problem with double faces here, so that's why the shading looks so terrible. So if we do merge by distance, that removed 1500 vertices from there. Wow. I potentially still have some issues with the shading. That's fine. Okay. So, yeah. Just wondering here if we can remove some of these edges. No, the angle will be different, but maybe worth trying that with these. Okay, so that's potentially part of the problem, is these are not linking up to these for some reason. Now whether this is part of the problem with the inset, I forget. I'll check on the other one. I think it's part of the border I created, so yeah. We need to if I select this face, or if I could select this face here, just temporarily hide it. So that's, I think, part of the problem, is all these faces that are not actually linked up. So what might be easiest is if we select the main window and do a plus to get that edge. Like that, I think. Delete those. That might help quite a bit with all that. So let me delete these faces. We're gonna have to do the same thing on this side. So what we'll do, we'll set this one and we'll delete all that, and when it's done we can mirror it over. Oops. Oh, look at that. So they just turned on face orientation to see if there was anything a bit wrong, and yeah, clearly that needs addressing. But yeah, these things I created down here a little while ago are wrong. So yeah, just need to correct those, I think. Maybe Alt click will get the edge I want, except in this case I might have to select them manually. And welcome in there, Ken. Yeah, I can only agree with you that YouTube notifications are definitely not a reliable way to get information about when somebody's going to be live, but there you go. Welcome in anyway. A little bit I missed that. That explains that. But this still does not seem to want to. Shading on it's still not great, even after shading for that. So might have to think about this one for a second and see what we can do about it. I wonder if it has something to do with the back faces potentially. Let me think, and I'll mute the mic while I think, because it's not always a fun thing to hear me think. Oh yeah, thank you. I don't think it looks too bad now. I'm just really doing some final touches to the doors, some various bits on the side. I mean, I have actually got this in a little game I'm working on, and played around with it a bit in there, and it's good. I like it. But yeah, just doing some final little touches really at the moment. I say final, and you know, here I am 10 hours later potentially, but well, you know, it's funny you say that. I did end up creating wheels for it, but I never, for one reason or never imported them into this scene. But they, yeah, the they do exist in some form or another. That was a little strange. I pressed a key to do what I thought was something in the program, and minimized everything on my desktop. So I was a little bit like, what the hell's happened for a second, but it's all good. Yeah, no, that would be interesting though, the Fred Flintstone bus. Maybe I could model little Fred Flintstone characters and yeah, have that up and running. So I'm just currently brute forcing this a little bit just to see if there's anything immediate stands out to me with what's going on here with the shading. Probably turn that off for a second because that's not overly useful at the moment. But yeah, I got it. Interesting. So we'll do the other thing. Same sort of thing up here. And same thing up here. Oh yeah, that was something I had to work a little bit hard on, was creating the floor on the inside. Some of it was not too bad, but there were other sections you had to add quite a lot of points in, and yeah. Oh yeah, in the meantime, the passengers can just sit on the floor on the wheel wells. It's kind of like a Ryanair bus in that sense. But no, truth be told, it would be cool one day to model the interior kind of thing. But yeah. But I'm just going to see now. I'm presuming if I move this over here, it won't quite line up with the body of the bus, which is fine. But yeah, just experimenting around really. Oh yeah, that's true. Most people would just be like, it's just another bus at the end of the day. Oh yeah, there's a little bit of a problem I run into sometimes. I add in a point and then I forget where it is. Can't see where it is because of how zoomed in I am. So, yeah. That relatively seems to fit the body well enough, I think. Probably move this point back a little bit. Same with this one, just to get it in line. But yeah, so we could potentially create a window now, and or well, probably mirror it first of all, I would say. But yeah, we'll do the mirror, but the first thing I'll do before we do that is change the what's known as like the origin point of the object, which is where it bases off where do you duplicate from. And currently this object, the origin is this little thing over here. So if I add in mirror modifier on the y-axis, it's just gonna put it in some random place because it's not at all. Yeah, it's gonna put it way over there. But if I've got a shortcut to do it, but basically move the 3D cursor to where I've got selected, and then come out of edit mode and use my shortcut to put the origin there, and then like magic it almost moves the door there. But probably needs a bit more editing to get it well straight, that kind of thing. As you can see, kind of like that. Bit of that, bit of this, and that kind of. I mean, I was intentionally leaving a bit of a gap anyway, just to kind of signify like panel gaps almost. But yeah, it's a little bit easier said than done, I'd say. At the moment, my mouse is going a bit mad, so I can't quite get it in. Let's try this again. Move the origin point, add in the mirror modifier. Yeah, there we go, that's kind of what I wanted. So the idea was, if we move this kind of out a bit like that, well, let me turn off the snapping because that's causing me a bit of grief at the moment. And I mean, the angle is still a bit off, so we want to do some rotation, I think. Oh, to be fair, if I apply the rotation, that didn't help. Okay, yeah, we'll move them apart like that, and then see if we can get them on the, well, clear out the rotation almost. I reckon the rotation 0, but obviously not quite. So I think that's about right. And then we can enable clipping on the mirror modifier. So if I did that, it would kind of do that. But what I'm actually thinking is make it ever so smaller. So I'll scale it a bit on this this axis. mean, I actually don't think that's too far for what I want, but the panel gap, yeah, probably needs to be a bit smaller. I must remember at the end of this to apply the scale, but that's okay. Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted, and then we could add in the solidify to get some thickness in, which looks alright. And then, I mean, if we're really feeling thingy, let's add in the bevel as well, which may be something that caused the original screw up in the shape. But we can adjust the size of it if we drag. If I remember how to drag. The shading doesn't look too bad now. Obviously the more modifiers we add in, the more it can affect things. I might get rid of that for now until we apply some other modifiers. It's probably a good idea. Just going to turn on snapping here for a sec, because I think this is not 100% straight, so we'll try and straighten this out. Snap to that point. There we go, that's a bit better. So I could now do a bit of that. No, that's okay for now. So there is this shade smooth, which doesn't look like too bad a shading, but a quick sort of, then that looks much worse. But if I then, it's because we're trying to inset so many faces at once, but interesting. That's kind of caused by the solidify by the look of it, because if we do shade flat and then shade smooth, smooth, but then turn the solidify back on, it's what causes that issue. So we'll exclude that for now, and we'll try extruding it ourselves. Which still doesn't look great, so because it keeps adding something in. If I do it flat, yeah, at least it's consistent, I suppose. Some points I might still edit before if I undo that extrusion. Turn snapping back on. So I mean, for the windows, I like the idea of just doing that and filling that face in and then changing the material. Well, adding in a material, well, it should be glass, and then assigning it. That actually looks okay. I suppose the question is, if we were to add in a solidify now, how would it affect the shading? And to be fair, it actually looks a bit better with the solidify, so in most places apart from the top. Let me turn off, whoops, that, and yeah, overall the shading on that's a lot better than it was. We can still make some adjustments here. I think there's some faces back here that we could get rid of, which is probably not helping with some things. Well, actually, it might be a good idea for me to pull this object out again, because I can see some stuff that's not visible when it's in the bus like that. And yeah, sure enough, face is there I don't want, so I'll delete those. And so only at the top here where it's a bit messy. But there could be a fix for that. It could be getting rid of this edge, potentially. Makes it worse. Okay, so not surprisingly this face in the middle is wrong. So that would definitely affect its shading. Just trying a few things out here, see if it helps with the shading up top, but it's not. It's better than it was. I will say that. Interesting. We'll go with that for now, I think. And what we'll do is we'll delete the original doors right there. Delete them. Is that the right option? And we'll duplicate that and move that over here. For that purpose, I've just realised I've been going an hour and 13 minutes, not yet taking a break, so I'll do that real quick and I'll be back in just a few minutes. Okay, I'll be back. So, experiment with one more thing with this door. Mouse is going mad on me again. That doesn't really mess up the shading, so we'll do that again. They don't need to be super thick, so what I will do is switch to face selection and take out the thing, the window in that selection. Yeah, overall it looks okay, I think. We'll just do this to get rid of any additional points. But yeah, it's not bad. I mean, one thing we could do if we wanted would be to inset this and ever so slightly, and then do a plus and add another material in, which would be the plastic, and assign that. And yeah, I think that looks okay. It doesn't seem to affect the shading too much. Touch wood. So we'll yeah, I think we'll go with this for our doors. I'm going to duplicate them again. But if I move this back in there, you can kind of see the panel gaps, which is what I want. And yeah, and same deal with this, just gotta line it up, I would say, which is probably about there. Move it in. Yeah, it's not too bad, but might just want to move it over this way a bit. Yeah, I mean these windows, eh? Excuse me, these windows. We just need to, if we can, select the points which are in red. And I'll deselect the center face and do Shift N. Whoops. Shift. I thought I was doing Shift N then for just that, but maybe not. Yes, it kind of screws the window up, which is a shame. If I said that and unlink that. That'd be again to do with how many points it's got that's conflicting. Again, if I do that, could help a bit, but maybe not. And potentially we that could help a bit. There's just one little point in there which needs to be addressed up here, so we might end up redoing the windows, to be honest, on this side. But see how this one goes. It's certainly kind of a wavy effect, isn't it? Do that, deselect that. But it's certainly an interesting effect when we get rid of the smooth shading by shading this flat versus it being smooth. It's quite a difference, isn't it? The auto smooth though is probably a good thing compared to the just the smooth looks fine in a way. They're about the same, kind of, I would say. Okay, so we ought to do a thing on here. we merge by distance and see if that helps with some stuff. With moving vertices and that. So there's still some there. It's a double. Looks way better than worse at the same time, doesn't it? Yeah, let's undo that. Like a double edge here or something. Maybe. So I think the issue is to do with what the solidify modify did originally to this body. Is it's kind of screwed some things up, shall we say. But because here's the thing, if I do this, but then I select one of these points, that's probably better in some sense now. We've got the honest thing to, the better thing to work with, I guess. Adjust some points and that here. Yeah, I'll definitely keep this in mind when I decide to use solidify modifier again on a shape as big as this. But there's still some points in there where they've not merged up because of that solidify modifier. So if we undo that, we'll do merge by distance again and see if effectively I hide that. This is effectively two faces there that are not properly linked up together. So that's a bit of a bummer. So I suppose what we probably got to do is do the merge by distance to the point where I think that we've got everything that needs to be there, but I suppose before doing that we should shade this flat and then kind of see where we go from there. So there's several things we could do here. Could do that merge by distance again. It could be easier in some sense to do that. Yeah, I'm just a bit perplexed here because I didn't really think of this issue when using the solidify and wanting to make adjustments to the body afterwards. So we'll probably say do an undo on some various things here. That's about as far as we can undo. So yeah, got to consider how we want to proceed with this, because of all this stuff on the inside, which, if you link that up, it's not really possible to just delete the inside faces, I guess. Because effectively you'd be doing that. So another way could be to assign like a different material to the inside and see if there's any way that we could delete based on that. But that still might be a lot of work. Let me think here. I'm just effectively what we need is kind of the X-ray view and kind of know when we select these 2 points, which is what we were originally trying to do, that we're definitely selecting the inside points as well to move. I think we are now. So turn off snapping as well and sort of see where we get to with that. Interesting. Yeah, very interesting, I would say. I was wondering if I might decide to switch back to the original project, which was an interesting one because of I kind of went back to, well, you'll see when it loads in, an earlier stage where, the various modifiers weren't even applied and that sort of thing. Well, I realised I just opened up the wrong one. I think it's this one. Yeah, this is the one. Yeah. So, knowing what we know now, we're going to remove that solidify modifier. Or certainly not put it in place till we're absolutely happy with the body shape. And to be fair, you have the option. If we ignore the sort of bits on the outside, if you extrude faces along the normals, you do something like that, which gives it some thickness. But does make certain elements a bit interesting, but does kind of fix the problem of the inside. So yeah, might go with that option for the moment. And I'm assuming it won't, if I do it carefully, affect the areas I've already extruded too much. But yeah. As I keep saying, let me have a quick think. So I think the general conclusion I'm coming to is I don't want to put on extrusion or solidify and modify until I've got the final shape of this that I want, which is, to be fair, not too far off the way this is now. I did some modifications to straighten out various points. These sort of points, the bits that are purple, where I've got something called edge crease in place, which if I can select the right edge I can show you. Crease here for edge. Similar thing I was doing on the lights as well as some other areas. Not so much at the back here. Perhaps put that in place now. If we just put this to half, does that, and 1 is like that, so maybe like 0.3, 0.4, maybe like 0.2. At least I do remember to enable clipping on this this version with the mirror modifier. Just wondering, there was a trick someone showed about selecting this half and doing hide temporarily while you're working on the front, which is honestly not a bad idea at all. And yeah, see, we go in front mode now. There are some pieces I import back from that other model, like the bumper and such. I probably will, in fact. Yeah, I do quite like it with the subdivision in place. It obviously does significantly increase the vertex count. But if I disable that and do the shade smooth, it's not too bad. There are some points here that would need some adjustment for how they look. We shade it back flat and do whoops, auto smooth, you know, but yeah. Of course, what I forget about having to do as well before the mirror's applied is, you know, redo this side, which is one of the disadvantages, I guess, of the way some of this is done, which is not just having the face filled in here and like a texture. But that's okay. And some points here I'd like to adjust a bit, I think. Oops. There's some edits on the fly here, would be interesting to do. See what kind of helps, that doesn't help with this. Oh, yeah, it's not so bad. This edge here could come in a bit. Yeah, it's very interesting experimenting with this modifier, you know. So you put the smooth modifier in and it looks looks great, but yeah, still takes some practice, definitely. I'm thinking the edges of this, I want to add in the crease as well by some amount. Yeah, I kind of like that. That's a bit better. Yeah, it was fun. What's it called? Oh, hit the mic there with my glasses. It is fun trying to mess around with this stuff and see where it gets to. Yeah, I think some of these edges need to come down a little bit because they're a little bit tall. I guess that would be from like here and back to about here-ish. Yeah, and then the next row, which again from about here to there, I think. And then this side as well, or this edge. And probably one more edge as well when we're done with this, but yeah, this edge as well. Yeah, it looks a little different now. I mean, just trying to look at the reference. Yeah, the roof kind of slopes up, but there's various cuts in it and stuff. So they're potentially points that we can. And again, without a real reference photo of the bus, it's a bit tricky to do this, but we can sort of replicate what we're seeing in the reference, which may not be that accurate, but better than nothing, I'd say. And I think I do want that kind of hard edge there, actually. Just a couple of things here at the back. It's this bit of the edge didn't get moved down during all that, but that's kind of what we want actually there with it going higher, so yeah, maybe this edge, if we do some adjustments, could also have its thing increased in something like that, and we'll adjust the edge in the middle. It may mean adjusting these individual points, but yeah, probably does in fact, but yeah, I'll keep playing around with that. It's kind of just experimenting really, but yeah, I think we just need to kind of bring this down and then fix the individual points a bit. Admittedly, in these bits, whether I can get rid of some of these edges this way, because they're no longer connecting down there, is an interesting question. Maybe not because of that, but at least straighten them out a bit. Okay, interesting. I think, and look at the time, I'll probably finish up here. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching this show, whatever you want to possibly call it. And yeah, until next time, which will probably be Friday with a normal sort of gaming stream. I mean, I think my idea was to try and do at least one stream a week of something like this, and another stream with gaming. But yeah, until then, thanks for watching, and bye for now.